So earlier today, big announcement. We finally found out who the Canadian astronaut is going to be that gets to head on the next moon mission, because it's been more than 50 years since we've been up there. It's going to be Jeremy Hansen. Listen to this.
For decades now, literally thousands upon thousands of Canadians, our engineers, the Canadian Space Agency, the Canadian Armed Forces, across government, all of our leadership, working together under a vision to take step by step, and all of those have added up to this moment where a Canadian is going to the moon with our international partnership, and it is glorious.
There you go. Part of the announcement made today, and for all the space, nerds, this is a big, big day.
Especially even the non-space nerds.
Even the non-nerds, yes.
It's so cool.
So Chris Abel is, of course, a tech expert. We used to talk all the time. And Chris, I understand you actually flew a simulated mission with Jeremy Hansen, right? Tell us more.
It's crazy that I can say that. So this was 7 years ago. The local science center here in Ontario had created a reproduction of the command room for overseeing launches at Houston, as well as the internal command console of the spacecraft. And Jeremy was invited to come try it out. But of course, he couldn't do it by himself. So lucky boy that I was tapped to kind of go and do it with him. He and I were both amazed at how incredibly sophisticated this was. We thought this was for schools, for students, and yet it's like a movie studio set. They had gone to great lengths to reproduce the station sets, the headsets, all the equipment to go through a launch. And so I got a chance to go through that launch and explore the idea of what it would be like to go through Mars. And I can tell you, having seen him go through a launch experience, he's cool as a Canadian cucumber. He's a fun guy.
Awesome. That's exactly what I was wondering. Obviously, I'm curious about what it was like to pretend to go to Mars, and you got to come back, which wouldn't really be the case necessarily. But what's he like? What's his personality like? Why do you think he was chosen for this mission?
He's a tall, good-looking, strapping young man. He is somebody who emits great sense of responsibility as well as charm, good, fun sense of humor. The vibe I got off of him was that if you brought him home, your family would immediately adopt him.
Okay.
He is somebody, he is so welcome in your family. Oh, we've got a brother. No problem. Jeremy's your guy.
Wow, that's quite a, salute, I guess, to someone. I mean, he's 47 years old.
Yeah.
And do you know what's involved in this mission exactly, Chris?
So this is amazing. He's got quite the honor. It's going to be Canada's first mission to the moon. So he gets to be the first Canadian that goes to the moon. He's not going to land on the moon. This is similar to the Apollo missions from way back when, where this mission is just going to the moon, circling around to orbit it, and then come back. The reason for that is that he gets to test out an all-new launch system. So a brand new ship called the Orion. You've got a brand new launching system. So he'll be testing out all new equipment that's going to be used not just for future moon missions, but also potentially for Mars. He gets to be the first Canadian to go to the moon, not land on it, but at least go to it and circle and come back, as well as be part of putting Canada as the second country in the world to ever go to the moon. So it's huge, huge honors here.
What's the long-term plan here? It's to land a mission on the moon, an actual group of people who would stay up there for a while. Do you know?
So the first stage that we're going through is just to make sure the equipment to get to the moon. Then it's going to be about landing people on the moon and setting up bases on the moon, so that the moon will become a base of operation. And from there, it will be about exploring deeper into space, but also specifically to go to Mars.
That's pretty cool. Establishing a base.
Wild.
You know what's amazing to me, and I'm obviously for a variety of reasons, we landed on the moon in 1969. It's 2023. And there's been no interest to go back and actually land, even this time. And I realize there's a long-term plan, as you said, to set up an area there, a mission there. But doesn't it strike you as odd that it's taken this long to get back, or does there just not be the will to go back?
It's been the will to go back. It certainly has not been a technology problem. I mean, yes, there's been lots of great advances that are going to be towards making this easier. But you take a look at the history of space travel, even over the past 20, 30 decades, we've been using the same rockets again and again and again. So we had the ability, we just didn't have the willpower to go. So things, thankfully, have changed.
I love that.
Yeah, very exciting.
I love, Chris, that you've got bragging rights on this, that technically you've already been to Mars with Jeremy Hansen.
So I had the day to spend and hang out with him, which was great, because sometimes, we get to do interviews. It's not the same as actually getting to know somebody. And so hanging out with him, I got a chance to talk to him about his twin daughters, how cool they are. One of them is very passionate about being a teacher. But the other conversation, I hope that will register. I don't know if it will, but I had a chance to mention that British astronaut Tim Peake, when he went up, he worked with some chefs to bring a bacon sandwich with them up into outer space, which is supposed to be impossible, but he managed to get some chefs to work out how to make space-friendly bacon sandwiches to bring up to outer space.
Priorities.
Yeah, and it made him laugh. And so I suggested, because he was sort of interested, I said, if you get to go, hopefully, maybe one day to the moon. We both giggled at that. But he's actually going to go to the moon. I said, you should give some time thinking about what kind of Canadian food you could make space-friendly for the first time and bring up to outer space.
Poutine.
Beaver tails.
Hey,
all right,
thanks,
Chris, we're out of time. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Appreciate it. Chris Abel. There you go. Jeremy Hansen is the man's name. He's going to be the Canadian astronaut heading to the moon.
And you can find Chris at chrisabel.com.